Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2+1 with the former world champion Terran with the StarCraft 1 SCVs and the teal. It's Micro Jackson, ByuN, facing off against one of the best Protoss players in the history of the games. In the red, we have Classic in a best of 9 Protoss versus Terran StarCraft Evo Complete showdown. It's part of Enki's epic series. And if you enjoy either of those games, it'd be incredible if you could smash that like button or maybe even subscribe. Help me kind of the out. Didn't you know what we have? It's not StarCraft 3. All right, legally distinct. 1,823 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I'd do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far, and hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. Then ByuN, as I can't translate it directly, but I can take some wild guesses that Classic taunting him with that first probe able to escape after getting a full scout here on Holy World. A 4-player map, but the probe went straight across, and, well, not a great start for the Terran now building his very first Vulture. Ooh, new factory skins. StarCraft Evo Complete becoming more complete by the day, maintaining the essence of the Brood War with the modern conveniences / technological development of StarCraft 2, but Vulture bikes, Jimmy. An absolute classic. Indeed. We'll see how Classic feels about it. Vulture first! Now, they don't come with their iconic spider mine setup. In fact, ByuN, in typical ByuN fashion, has not scouted at all. No SCV, no Marine. It's going to be the Vultures who handle it themselves. And I think we're going to use the action cam a little more often because
good to go, sir.
I have no nostalgia for the Brood War. Sorry, Grandpa, but
You keep pushing me, boy.
the sound design, the voices, the aesthetic in general.
SCV, good to go, sir.
That's all I gotta say about that. But the probes struggling. 2 probes dead, but wait, there's more. Just one at a time being targeted. The Stalker not so great against him, but 4 probes, 5 probes for 2 Vultures. And at only minerals. Well, certainly not an ideal start for Classic. He's got an Oracle on the way. Classic with plenty of time to trash talk him back. A barracks is floating across the map. It seems like a relatively fast speed, but it might just be because of its slimmed down posture. Speaking of fast speed, though, we've got, I want to say, ion thrusters. Either way, the Vulture's speed upgrade in production. He's going triple factory Vulture. A dramatic start. The Oracle, on the other hand, is just going to get into the mineral line, and there is, I think, the only anti-air is 3 Marines, which is not enough in any version of the game. So the Oracle, well, it's free real estate here. Both sides going to be doing absolutely terrible damage to start. The Vultures will slip by the Stalker, whose stance wasn't wide enough, recharges the Oracle to get enough energy to maybe kill these off, and the Oracle doing a decent job to clean things up to start. The other Oracle got too tired, and without the energy to continue the slaughter, he'll have to go back home or at least wait a little while longer. ByuN's barracks is already across the map. The Oracle successfully hunted down the Vultures, but wait, there's more. He just hard-walled in because apparently there's a base at the very back corner. This, like many of the maps in the StarCraft Evo Complete professional map pool, of which there is, by the way, designed from the Brood War maps for StarCraft 2. Those are disruption webs, which just straight up, I think, turn off your attack when you're inside of them. An interesting fact of the pentagram here on Holy World. We'll see if any engagements happen on the open field. In fact, somewhat interestingly, compared to StarCraft 2 as well, the base is so spread out. In StarCraft 2, usually have bases that kind of force an engagement, at least near the center of the map. Usually at least a couple of those. But here, everything's all around the corners. 3 Goliaths. TechCom is online. The pathing's good enough, but the Oracles are even better. Just burn through one of the Goliaths. The other? Do they have Terran boosters? No. They're starting it now, as ByuN realizing it might be a useful upgrade. The spider mines! Oh, even the spider mines. The spider mines have been laid. The minefield is set. And I don't know if there's any way to know they're there without detection. I mean, there's one way, but I'm not sure Classic wants to find out that way. But what's going to stop him? He doesn't have blink. Does he suspect the mines? I think he does. Oh, watch out! Oh, well, unfortunately. Oh, the Stalker's just targeting him down because units have greater than room temperature IQ in StarCraft 2. So, automatically getting the mines before they are able to obliterate probably the majority of the Stalkers. Only 25 HP means it only takes a couple shots. Usually you want to cover them with something else in order to draw fire while the mine... Oh! Of course, neither me nor Classic looking at it. I gotta see it again. I need to see it! Let the boy watch. Sorry. Again, no nostalgia, just love. That's a lot of damage! Well, pretty much spider mines costing 25 minerals apiece. I'd be like, well, that's the cost of the vulture. Are vultures not just 3 spider mines stacked together with a big-ass engine on the back? Some might say yes, and some might lie, but all the mines cleared up, but getting 3 stalkers for it, I think is already worth, even 1 stalker might be worth it. And the threat, honestly, the threat, the stochastic terror of the idea of spider mines existing. Classic stuck in his base until he gets observers out and can diligently... Oh, stasis. Hold me. I can't. I literally can't stop. The stasis, an interesting choice, but going straight up mech against Protoss. A much more common tactic, even in the StarCraft Evo version of the Brood War. Those siege tanks. Siege mode is not done. The upgrade not complete. And the Stalkers... gonna take advantage of it. The siege tanks don't have as much... Oh, stop right there, criminal scum. Not nearly as dangerous as the spider mines. Well, dangerous in its own way, because with half the units, the Stalkers can pick apart this army a lot more easily. Immortals and charge lots in production, and Classic being... I was getting to the point of Classic being stuck in his base is not really a big setback, as he has 4 bases to work with. He has already a significant income lead. And... there's some half-strength... Well, I was going to say there's some rocks at the back he could just go through, but why bother? The Oracles, he doesn't know about the Stalkers, but he does now. Just completely circumventing all the terrain. In a way, StarCraft 2 units are pretty exclusively able to do. The armory will be sniped off. The siege tanks are finally sieged, and the Stalkers will have to back up. Siege tanks with less HP, they cost less supply, but... the glass cannons they are, still very much the case. Chasing more. Oracles delay the 3rd base at the back, while Classic already has 4. The I wanted to say Vikings for some reason. The Vultures will hunt down some of the Stalkers. Goliath knock one of the Oracles out of the sky. But overall, I'd say a successful foray for Classic. And now, the next army moving out of the base like a direct strike match. He's got 14 charge lots, a few High Templar, Starting Storm, and, well, ByuN does not even have 3 bases. He got his upgrades sniped off. He did finish +1 mech weapons. The scan, the comsat slapped down, though they found the technology in StarCraft 2 to slap the comsat on top of the command center, as opposed to the side where it can actively prevent some mining. Oh, the siege tanks unleash a punishing volley of fire, and the spider mines chase them down. But getting anywhere close to that siege tank line is more than enough to ward Classic away, but he still has so much space to work with. He's working on a 5th base, really employing the same tactics that he would against StarCraft 2 Terran. Just simply out-expand them and effectively play like a Zerg. If those still exist, I guess. Meanwhile, the Vultures getting collapsed upon, but... oh, the Zealots are caught in the crossfire. The spider mines wiping out dozens at a time. The Vultures themselves, but after their spider mine babies are laid, really do they have any purpose in life? More Vultures in production. The siege tanks will back off. ByuN trying to lock it down, and I believe his best chance at this stage is to just sit back, turtle up, and get as close to 200 supply as possible. So that way his army becomes nearly unbeatable when it moves out. Now, Classic is going to try to slow him down, undercut the production, and maintain such a high economy that he could trade 3, 4 resources to 1 and still maybe come out ahead. The Stalkers are still at the back, but not for long. Now many of them in the Units Lost tab, as ByuN anticipating this sort of counterattack. The Vultures clearly laying down the Spider Mines. The Oracle, not enough energy for a Revelation, making this incredibly awkward. I don't think the Archons actually. Archons hovering above, just targets down some of the Templar. One barely survives. The Storm hits Spider Mines. I don't know why it wouldn't. A science facility is on the way. ByuN's very organized looking base. I guess you have to be a little more thoughtful with those depots since you can't lower them. The architectural engineering for the Terrans developed quickly after the war. The Protoss, on the other hand, mixed bag. Well, that's a lot of 11 Immortals with the barriers to absorb extra fire and a very direct intent against those. EMP is being researched for the science vessels. No ghosts, but ghosts for lockdown also wouldn't be a terrible idea. There's a fleet beacon on the way for Classic. Not a slouch when it comes to the tech progression. And, well, so far,
upgrade complete.
ByuN battening down the hatches. He's at 160 supply. Classic has 87 probes, so ByuN's army supply could be near equal. Immortal drop. Immortal drop coming in, and potentially devastating, especially if he drops it right on top of the siege tanks, as the siege tanks are very good against siege tanks. I don't think a citation is needed. Meanwhile, the science vessel just wanders into the fray and unceremoniously dies as ByuN clearly looking away for a moment. And that moment may cost him. The siege tanks pounding into the Immortals, but they're weathering the fire well enough. They've broken the front lines. They're getting to the back. The Stalkers keep blinking ahead to help out. The Templar are protected on the back. And ByuN, battered down. His base will be obliterated. His siege tank line dismantled. His tech cut apart. And Classic, with the Immortals able to punch through. ByuN never found his footing. He tried to slip the Vultures underneath Classic to start, but just the endless waves of almost playing it like Brood War, just warping in units back at home. Where's your warp prism? Well, he lost it, the one on the other side. But a mothership is on the way. Classic has 7 Nexi to 3 command centers, which, believe it or not, is not great for ByuN here. At least in my understanding of this dynamic. Like, I would always want to have 7 likes and subscribes, as opposed to 3 likes and subscribes, is how I like to translate it, if that makes sense. The Oracle's Classic, so diligent. He lost, or maybe he built a new one, unclear. Maybe he built it after the Spider-Mines. Either way, it feels like he always has an Oracle when he needs it. Just melting through the siege tank. And the Goliaths might have their range, but still terrestrially bound. ByuN has less than he did before. He has less supply. The economy, mediocre. And Classic has compounded his lead. The income gap is probably cause for new legislation. And without mules to complement the basic income for ByuN, despite the fact the bases don't mine out nearly as quickly, even in SC Evo, there are 17 siege tanks, 16 vultures. He's got the spider mines out in front. I'm not optimistic for his late game chances. But again, if ByuN at the scans a volley sent out, the comsat has no other purpose. That energy is pretty much exclusively for scan. The engineering bay in flight. ByuN. Rock, paper, scissors for it. It feels like I'm holding. Oh, the ByuN distracting everyone. But Classic actually went with the mothership recall dunk. The tactical dunk into the base. Doesn't bother. He just completely circumvents the entrenched position at the start. And it's ByuN who started the chat. It wasn't even Classic bamboozling him. But in comes the mothership recall, the science vessel. I mean, the siege tanks are still kind of helpful, but the time warp in position. An EMP comes out from the vessels, but the feedbacks knock out the rest of the energy. And he dismantles the main base. He might lose the mothership. Manages to back off just barely. And ByuN back to the chat box. Classic laughing at him. As at this stage, they both had exactly 368 APM. I wanted to make fun of someone, but it's going to be hard to do so with that exact amount. Classic didn't lose a singular building throughout the entire match. ByuN tried his cheeky vulture build in the longest possible rush distance, and believe it or not, it didn't go incredibly well. I'm not sure what his commentary there was, but I'm sure the comments will have the breakdown. Also, it feels like his idea was vultures, and if that didn't work, we can always build more vultures. But Classic, in typical fashion, staying calm and collected and just teching up and wondering what ByuN is doing over there. And now, well, it's Classic's turn. ByuN faltering with the StarCraft 1 Terran, but Classic now will be picking up the StarCraft 1 probes. So, to my understanding, the StarCraft 1 workers actually mine a little bit faster, or either way, they're more efficient with mining. Because in StarCraft 2, you have greater macro mechanics. You have mules, you've got larva inject, you've got chrono boost, all of which mean you can effectively have more workers and income than if you didn't have those, which obviously StarCraft 1 does not. So, in order to balance that out, the StarCraft 1 races, it is more important to have the worker count then, is what that means. Because you're not building up your workers, you're not having these income explosions, the stimulus checks of the mules dropping, the assistance from the chrono boost, or the baby boom of the queens. That's what we'll go with. So, that means the income is comparable, and also the fact that the minerals, for example, in StarCraft 2, you have 4 1,800 minerals and 4 900 mineral patches. Whereas here, which gives you about 11,000. Whereas here you have 8 1,500. Wait, is that 9 patches? Yes, 9 patches. 9 1,500 mineral patches, which gives you 13,500 patches. Minerals per base. Also very important is the patches mine out at the same time. So the effect, even though there's not that many more minerals, the effective income, not every map is like this. There's a lot more variability to my understanding in the SC Evo maps. I might just be talking out of one of the greatest sources you could possibly cite, which is my ass, but I believe the maps have some variation, and generally you won't mine out nearly as quickly in the first 3 bases, which is kind of a staple of the Brood War. But you're still incentivized to expand because, obviously, being able to mine from multiple bases is still way better. That means that ByuN really did have a shot still on 3 bases. It's just Classic never let him get any footing out on the map, aside from the early game. Now we see what Classic has in store as ByuN, ready to talk some trash, I'm sure, as that is the classic Terran, puns intended, fallback is, if you can't win in the game, you can win in the flame war. ByuN not happy about it, but is this a Reaver rush? A Robo Bay on the way and a shuttle is already in production. So, ByuN busy worrying about the... Did he scout at all? He did. All right, he took a... Wait, what? He scouted up to... He must have seen the Dragoon, right? Yeah. The Goon kind of doing its weird... You ever noticed? Well, this is not true with the SC Evo version. For those who don't know, you can play SC Evo right now. It's all built into the game. It's an extension mod, which means you can add it to any map. The maps themselves are designed for SC Evo, but they also add the... You could play them with StarCraft 2 versus StarCraft 2. That would also work. Don't know why you would, but... The first Reva is on the way. Shuttle speed. I'm like 85% sure on that one. Because, of course, they're not able to warp in, but carrying those explosive space slugs across the map is like 80% of their job in this matchup. ByuN. A very typical StarCraft 2 Terran build. The shuttle already loading up the Reaver. It's going to be spotted. The Scarab isn't produced yet. So it takes about half a second after the Reaver drops out to be able to target the Scarab. That's partially to have some time to counter it, and partially because otherwise you wouldn't be able to micro it at all. So it does take a split second before you're able to launch the Scarabs across the map. Is that a Stargate? Classic just going mech Protoss here, which... He's got 2 gates, a robo. He hasn't even built a second Reaver, but that's only because he was supply blocked. He did eventually construct additional pylons. The shuttle's coming in. ByuN is in position to help deal with it. The siege tank and a Reaver. He's gonna get on top of the tank and try to blast it apart. The splash damage does not do friendly. Oh, he whips out the Scarab, but unable to kill the siege tank. I don't know if he intentionally went for the Marines, but it ends up working out. And, well, there's another tank here. He eats the tank shot. Another shot. And the scan to try to get the missile turret to kill. 4 SCVs dead. The Observer also kind of dies because he wasn't really paying attention. That was an Observer, right? Yeah, it just kind of flew into the missile turret, but... So, the initial Reaver drop, not finding as much success as maybe hoped for. Probably because it got scouted by the Reaper on the other side of the map. So ByuN was over-prepared for it. Is that a fleet beacon? Classic, you can't just... That's an old, but... Is this a carrier rush? Indeed, of course. Classic with the most classic strategy. He loves it in both versions. And what? You can't just keep letting this happen. The Reaper gets in and it will spot the carrier's building. And I would be surprised if ByuN has no commentary for that. But so goon range is on the way, and carriers in production. I believe he got the Scarab the Scarab damage upgrade. He canceled it. Oh, it's on the way. No, those are just Scarabs building in the production tab. I'm so not used to that. The Reavers are chasing down ByuN's armor, but ByuN is stimming faster than the Reavers can crawl forward. Gonna drop right on top of the siege tank. Gets a hit. Blasts the other. Spits out another one. But the Marines are stimming for their lives, and their lives are very much in the balance. 12 probes dead. Whipping out the Scarabs. Whoa! That's a lot of damage. Another one around the back and out the front, and it's a dud. Oh no, it was a dud. 17 probes dead as ByuN just pre-splitting against the Scarabs. Classic taking terrible, terrible damage. The observatory under attack. And the no-health Marines are still a threat. 19 probes slaughtered. But wait, there's more. A carrier is giving a deep tissue massage to these Marauders with the 2 interceptors it has. The goons are helping out a little bit more. I believe he has to manually micro those shield batteries. But, oh no, it's a disaster. When your opponent's doing something weird, like, say, going from Reaver Rush directly into 2 Stargate carrier, just go fucking kill him. All right, a classic tactic with a unstoppable amount of micro. And suddenly, classic plummets to about equal supply. But he's down 17 workers and mules exist. The medevac, the interceptors, don't have quite the range. And he doesn't have the interceptor count. He didn't get the capacity upgrade. Well, Forge is on the way. He's building Reaver Carrier, which sounds great on paper, but I feel like is not going to be the strongest and... You have to build up all your weapons on either side. The Scarabs, as well as the Interceptors Classic, so generously rallying probes across the map, which is certainly not great considering he still hasn't caught up in the count. And still no carrier upgrade, because right now, unlike your mother, you can only fit 4 at a time inside here. So that's really not enough interceptors. I don't think. I know the interceptors of the Brood War are stronger. I have to assume that's the... Is that the second launch bay upgrade or something? Jimmy, where are my tooltips? I can read. Yes, there it is. It's called in carrier capacity. Okay, well, we have some upgrades that are like reticulated spines or something, and nanomuscular swell, and then we have carrier capacity. So, mixed bag. Some cannons on the way, and with no storm, there are 4 carriers. How many reavers? 3 reavers. No, three reavers. That sounded like 9 reavers. Anyways, still shuttling. The dragoons knock out one of the medevacs. The observer spotted the army moving out for ByuN, but reavers can't hit air. It'd be cool if you just put them right on top of the carriers and they let them launch their scarabs. I feel like they just drop immediately, but there's 14 Vikings. Only a few goons to help zone him out. He needs to launch the interceptors before the fight. Otherwise, I feel like he's not going to be able to launch them at all. Just a couple marauders. The mass carrier. Storm is now finally on the way. But, well, the Vikings looking for an angle. The carrier's not a single interceptor in the air. Gonna be chased down. The goons will knock out a couple, but 2 carriers dead before the fight even starts. The reavers doing terrible, terrible damage, and then flinging out the mass interceptor. Once they finally launch, really getting a lot more effectiveness. How many interceptors? 33 to work with. The reavers, it's not hard to outrun them. Okay. I think you could outcrawl them with a dedicated effort. The Ursidon did not have that effort. Dancing around the Vikings, trying to find an angle where the dragoons don't easily cover. There's also a factory here. Believe that's scarab damage. Don't think they're quite enough to one-shot marauders, at least baseline, but that might be enough. Storm nearly complete. He's actually building the Templar, of course, out of the gates. Warp gate, considered far too dangerous until after the war. The interceptors swarming. Vikings. 16 Vikings, but 6 carriers, and now Storm Kadaran Amulet is on the way. Because the Templar don't have the energy for Storm quite yet. And the Ghosts are here. EMPs could be devastating. The Reavers! Huge damage flung out. But the carrier's getting targeted down one by one. The interceptors are finally launched. And ByuN picks up. Was that intentional? He just picked up 3. Okay, there we go. The reinforcements spotted on their way across the map, scans for observers, and then drops out 2 feet later, realizing that Classic has again ambitiously taken another base. But Classic has survived throughout all this. He's gotten Storm, he's gotten Templar, he has the Death Ball, and ByuN hasn't been able to break him. I think not really confident in dealing with these much more potent carriers. So he's... there's just some charge lots at the back. Not exactly the most effective drop. Not charge lots, sorry, just leg lots. Speed lots, that's the one. They don't have charge, they just run really fast. Which is a version of charging, just never stop. So... building up the interceptors, building up the scarabs. You've got to build all your ammunition. I believe it all costs minerals as well. Both scarabs and interceptors, so another drain on the resources. But Classic has drawn equal in economy. The triple drop. And the carriers are dragged back.
We
Does
are under attack.
Yeah, indeed.
Destroy our brethren in battle.
ByuN does not know about this base, but oh no! All of the Templar have been building up energy for several minutes, EMP'd instantly. The carrier strung out. The Vikings, more than enough to take 2 of them down on their own. The carrier swarmed and killed the medevacs, but ByuN has successfully divided. And now he's working on conquering. Classic plummets 40 supply because his army was just out there, but the Reavers flicking out massive shots. If he can get him before another volley. The storms, but just stimming all the way through. More carriers have arrived, but is it too little? And is it too late? Trying to keep vision as the carriers chase down. And, well, that did not go great. Over the last minute, ByuN destroying 4 Reavers, 2 carriers, 12 Dragoons, and 4 High Templar. Overall getting about 20-30% more resources worth. And most importantly, units that have to build up over time. Carriers, Templar, Reavers. They all take time to get to maximum strength, whereas Marines and Marauders come right out of the box. So the carriers engaging heads up as there's nothing underneath. Where are the reinforcements? Where are the units? The interceptors being taken down and somewhat mismanaged, and ByuN just has the momentum. These StarCraft 2 units just a little bit too strong and classic falling prey. Getting his army so strung out, and he's forced to tap out. ByuN ties it up 1-1. A classic bait and switch in every sense of the term. And ByuN just kind of walks over, probably a little surprised that he got such a free set of units. But classic scrambling from with the bamboo tech route of Reavers into carriers. A bold move. Maybe should have been underlined as well. A bit optimistic as we flip the script yet again. Classic with the StarCraft 2 probes, and why is it light blue here? Do we not have teal as a color in the nameplates? That might actually be the case. I think maybe in game 1 we saw that. I just wasn't paying attention, but and the teal / light blue, or maybe I'm losing it. No, that's definitely, it's a different color. Yeah, I'm not crazy. Shut up. All tied up. Neither player able to, well, both of them taking big economic hits before they could really leverage the late game StarCraft 1 composition. I believe that's the greatest strength of the StarCraft 1 armies. Even when translated to StarCraft 2, is they're just straight up power. In the Brood War, yes, it's your time, Grandpa. Tell me more. But each spell, each unit, well, when you can only control 12 units at a time, it was kind of a technical limitation on balance as well. So in StarCraft Evo, they've tried to replicate that feeling without it just being overpowered to get a single spell. Things like Dark Swarm Storm, Mind Control, Irradiate, still all incredibly powerful, but maybe not as game-endingly so. Because in StarCraft 2, very simply, instead of 12 units at a time, it can be, well, technically the limit is 500. There is a unit limit. It's just higher than the max supply of the game in almost every case. The only exception is like Mass Changeling, which breaks all that. But you can only select 500 at a time, is what I'm saying. Which is not a technical restriction in a normal game. Anyways, you can select your entire army. There's even a hotkey for it. And run it right through the storm. In the Brood War, it took a lot of APM to manage to do that. That's the difference. But I feel like I avoided my entire point, which is both ByuN and Classic taking, respectively, significant economic damage well before they could get to 200 supply. Because part of the strength, if you could discuss the design and the balance and what have you, and I'm sure a lively discussion will, but mobility, speed, multitasking. Not that, again, Brood War units are bad on that, but the medevacs with boost, stalkers with blink, warp gate in general, battlecruiser teleport, and reapers jumping. There's so much stuff. On top of the fact, I believe StarCraft Evo does have high ground advantage, actually, and mischance. I am not 100%, and I'm not sure if the mischance is 100%, but that's part of the reason StarCraft 2, the defender's advantage, is minimal at best. Is there's so many ways to circumvent it. In fact, some of the most basic tools are designed at circumventing it, making a defensive position a lot less effective than in Brood War. The vultures, just wow. The SCVs with their 60 HP, a group hug. The stalker just kind of walked. It killed 0 SCVs, and then died to vultures eventually. They're not so great against it, but good enough. Vulture speed. Spider mine's already completed. The observer out in front. Classic. Again, we're on a 4-player map here on Radion. And again, we're in cross positions. I'm not sure what positions are enforced. I believe many of them don't have close positions, which is a pretty common thing on 4-player maps. But just shoving his way through the force field, there's no way to avoid that. The spider mines are laid on the opposite side, but the observer's in place to deal with it. And the force field just shuts out the vultures, not Hellions. Just looking around. And an academy is on the way. Probably just for the comm sets, making sure.
All right, bring it on.
Denying the third base. I love Spider-Mines. Spider-Mines are probably my favorite unit from Brood War. You're like, are they even a unit? I don't care. Okay? Just the idea, which is now that I'm here, I'm preaching to the choir, but Widow Mines do not spark joy. All right? Widow Mines clearly, originally at least, intended to fill a kind of similar spot. But I feel like they were twisted into this demon version of the Spider Mine and do not fill that role nearly in the same way. Like, Spider Mines is a zoning tool, buying time, and potentially entrenching a defensive position, whereas Widow Mines are used much of the time for worker harass, like, which Spider Mines literally cannot do without incidental effort. So, also the main fact is, once a Spider Mine hits and obliterates half your army, it's gone. It doesn't recharge. It's not coming back. It's gone. And I think that's kind of an important part in being a mine. Otherwise, you're just misnamed. The Terrans would never lie to us. Hey, boys, how about that evac? Anyways, there's a fight happening as they're dueling over the center line. The Spider Mine slowing things down, allowing Classic, well, preventing Classic from chasing this army down quite as quickly, but using the fog of war there, but an observer over the top juggles back the Immortal. The Goliath on the ground. There's a Wraith. There was a Wraith. Another siege tank on the way. Siege mode is done, but Classic just kind of juggling his way in with the most beautiful clown micro. Not a clown, more like Cirque du Soleil than a clown fiesta here, but ByuN reached his neck out, and Classic was more than happy to take his shot at chopping it off. Or at it. You got the idea. I don't know. A hard wall from Classic, preventing vultures at his third base. A hard-learned lesson. Meanwhile, in the main, the Immortal, couple Stalkers. Last game, it was a Reaver and a Dragoon. Now an Immortal and a couple Stalkers, but the themes remain the same. It's like poetry, it rhymes. The Immortal dies. Didn't rhyme hard enough. Templar warped in back at home. No Storm, just some Archons to deal with this. And ByuN? So, ByuN not taking heavy economic damage. The scan will spot the rest of the tech tree here. The gateway explosion. And I think Classic just now realizing that ByuN took this third base, which a little bit on the late side to come to that realization, but better late than never. And in fact, losing this command center would be the economic hit that seems inevitable for our StarCraft 1 players. Like, the command center is burning. Does he have high ground vision? It will get back to the main for now. The siege tanks, but here come the Archons. Immortal just bashing through, lays down some spider mines to try to protect, and the spider mines hit the Immortals and bash them out. Spider mines enough here. Pulling back. There's a couple siege tanks. There's a couple spider mines. It might be enough. He triggers them with a single zealot, and well, Classic just gains too much momentum, is able to reinforce. It appears StarCraft 2 is clearly the successor to StarCraft 1 so far. ByuN going a little bit too far, too fast, and Classic punishing him immediately, and he retakes the lead. Well, we're gonna flip the script again. Personally, I'd love to see more of the StarCraft 1 versus StarCraft 1 in these matches. You're like, well, just go watch the Brood War. Well, some of us have eyes that are able to see more than 24 FPS, Grandpa, so sorry. But I do like watching, but I can't for long. Even the remaster. Personally, who does? You get used to it. It's like vodka they used to give the children. All right, get them started early. Jimmy, edit that out. Yes, I know no one. The only way children will be involved in watching this is if they get coerced by their grandfathers. Okay. Don't talk to me about our toast. Where was I? On Sylphid, a 3-player map, which means the rush distance will be relatively equal, no matter who's up next. Or the rush distance is the same no matter who's positioned where. That's how it works. I don't know what I was... Anyways, we've had cross positions in 3 matches in a row on the biggest maps. So, which doesn't necessarily favor one race or the other, because the longer rush distance gives you more time to build up as Terran, but obviously moving out is more difficult. StarCraft 1 Protoss doesn't have nearly as many options for jumping that distance as StarCraft 2 with Warp Gate does. So, I don't know if it's changed in the last some months since I've cast. I know there's been a lot of updates. But the philosophy has always been that we change StarCraft 1 units, not StarCraft 2. Because otherwise, then you are... Like, this is the StarCraft 2 balance patch, for better or worse, that we're currently on. And the StarCraft 1 races are adapted to it. Because once you start fiddling with the Star... I know, that's a leading adjective, but fiddling. Implies shenanigans, obviously, but... I digress. Once you start messing with the StarCraft 2 races, then it's kind of its own thing entirely. The point, to an extent, the intent of the mod, to my understanding, just assume that's like an asterisk on everything, and I will stop saying it. Though it makes me sound kind of smart, because I'm acknowledging that I don't know everything, but I do know some things. Like and subscribe to help me know some things, but to my understanding, it's supposed to be StarCraft 1 versus StarCraft 2. That's the point of the mod. Kind of bringing the spirit and the literal models and sounds and the feel of StarCraft 1 against StarCraft 2. And be relatively balanced. Now, I think originally we saw a lot of not StarCraft 2 pros be successful in StarCraft Evo. But as time went on and the prize pools went up, we're seeing more and more. I believe it was like either Classic versus ByuN or Hero versus ByuN in the last championship finals. Don't quote me on that. But we're seeing almost exclusively current StarCraft 2 pros still find success, because it's a lot easier to adapt slightly, because it's still on the StarCraft 2 engine. Your units control the same. It's just doing a dramatically different strategy, but still using the same basic skill set. As opposed to, well, StarCraft 2 is a real-time strategy game, and the real-time matters. Just like you see the Dragoons dancing out of Cyclone range, but not dancing far enough, as the lock-on is far too long-ranged. And ByuN with some great Cyclone micro, but Classic just refuses to stop with the goons. He will power through, and that was about as much damage as the Cyclones could ever expect to do. But there's no bunker, there's no siege tanks, there's literally no units to stop him. Classic. The goonin will continue until morale improves. And range is now done. The Rangoon's here. Let me know if I'm offending anyone with these comments. You should be. I want to apologize for absolutely...
What a save!
The shuttle. Technically, he could dodge everything. Well, he can't dodge the Cyclone locking onto the shuttle, now that I think about it. He's going to try to kill the Cyclone with the Dragoon. But... oh, everybody lives. No, don't do it. Don't do it. And the shuttle thought about coming back around, but he doesn't have shuttle speed, though he might start it momentarily. ByuN survives for now. Meanwhile, the Dragoons come in, and still trying to get the damage done. Will kite the Cyclones. So far... well... that did not go as well. So far, 7 Dragoons dead, 3 Cyclones, 4 SCVs. Classic just started a little while ago, his third base. Meanwhile, ByuN, he still only has a barracks, a factory, and a starport. And while the Destiny Cloudfist build might be a good baseline, usually you want more base than just one line. So he has to get some damage done relatively soon, though he might not know it, as ByuN, of course, has not scouted. The map is dark and full of Rangoons. Well, for all he knows, there are only 2 of them right now, but the Reva... oh, that's a lot of damage. 6 SCVs, 5 in the first volley. The Scarab and the Speed Banshees are here, but no matter how fast they fly, it's still not fast enough to shoot at the shuttle. There is a Viking and 2 Cyclones, but 7 SCVs dead to the first Reaver drop, and the shuttle lives. The most important part here, a scout. A scout is on the way, which, not bad anti-air, and I believe significantly more competent than its StarCraft 1 counterpart. I don't know if that means it's actually a strong pick in most scenarios, but I know it is significantly better than the meme it is in StarCraft 1. The scout is completed. There is a cannon as well. Yeah. Meanwhile, the Reaver just blasts. There is a siege tank, but he gets another shot. The Scarab slams in. 6 SCVs dead. And I think Classic might be poised to break the streak here. StarCraft 2 has won 3 games in a row. But, Classic doing terrible. So, I think the summary so far is it's the economy, stupid. Classic has done a lot of economic damage, whereas ByuN has done little to none, just continually sniping off the hazardous working environment of building that 3rd command center. Whereas Classic is building his 4th Nexus, he's got 66 probes, he's adding on more gates. It's all coming together. The gateway's in production. More Reavers as well. Gotta set up those gateway. Is that gonna wall it? Okay, that's a Templar Archive. So you gotta be a little more careful about not walling in your own units, as they do have to physically walk out of the gateways. ByuN dropping mules, and just because he's playing StarCraft 2 Terran, he's still working with the same resources. That means he can survive off of 2 bases for a little bit longer, probably a couple minutes than you usually would. You'd be easily mining out of the SC2 resources by now, the first few patches. But still full economy, and with the mules nearly even with Classic, despite Classic now working on 4 bases with 20 more workers. It won't last forever. He's got a couple more minutes on those minerals. And mules are not infinite, but the scout doing, it's still not that much damage. It is, and it's so slow. But I mean, it looks kind of cool. The Reavers! The shuttle as well. Everyone dies at the end. Spoilers. An Arbiter is on the way. More Zealot. The Dragoon. Oh, that is uncomfortable. That is a... they're really just those spindly legs stepping their way across. The Banshees finally found an angle. There's no anti-air. The Dragoon count is so damn high. It's mech. StarCraft 2 mech this time around. And with Magfield Accelerator, he can knock out those Dragoons relatively easily. We've got recall on the way for the Arbiters, but ByuN finding some damage. Definitely a winning engagement for ByuN. Taking out 5 Dragoons, High Templar, some probes, and even gets 2 observers in there. Okay, Terran Amulet is on the way for that High Templar starting energy. And where do we go from here? Classic with a clear advantage, but ByuN is building up again. The script, well, it's now Classic with the StarCraft 1 Protoss and ByuN with the StarCraft 2 Terran, but feeling very similar to Holy World, where ByuN has been struggling to get any sort of stable economy, whereas Classic has half the map. And even a similar unit composition, just mass gateway units, a few robo thrown in, and now we're adding in the fleet beacon. The Arbiter is already in production. He's getting, is that cloaking field? That's not stasis, is it? I don't know why my tooltips break every game. But that is Arbiter starting energy. Well, yeah, that's also there. He does have recall available. Thor's in production. A revert. Oh, watch out, watch out, watch out! I guess they did. Massive reaver shots, though, covering for all this. And, well, he might be able to... Just one more. He gets the reaver out. The Banshees will eventually deal with it. But he may have cleared a path. The Arbiter is staring down the barracks, which... Yeah, that's probably not the most effective way. Classic with the mass expansion. Really embodying the Brood War toss with a whole nother base. 9 more gates on the way. 2 Nexi. ByuN had 113 army supplies, so dead even. 2-1 upgrades on the ground for Classic. Just +1 armor for ByuN, but now finally stasis for the Arbiters. Meanwhile... And there's a Templar gliding by. I don't know if Classic noticed. The Thor did, which is quite a hard counter to High Templar. He could try to recall this out with the Arbiters. It's getting a little bit late, though. He's now been completely cornered. The Arbiter's 100% of the main base. Anytime now, he slurps up some units into the main, which he probably brought the least impactful amount of units he ever could. That 10 out of 10 idea, like a 2 out of 10 execution. I guess he's still killing a lot of SCVs as the siege tank. Does the Thor? Yeah, the Thor should be enough. 12 SCVs dead, and 1 Dragoon survives somehow. Meanwhile, 2 Arbiters. This is, oh, Classic. The army's strung out. Stasis isn't done. I think he was trying to cast it there and then realized, uh-oh. Wait a second. Classic has made potentially a huge mistake. Oh no. But stasis could win the game for... There it is! The second it's done! He locks half the army in stasis, and the other half is going to be hard-pressed to deal with what he has. Maybe not hard enough. Oh no, I cursed him. The streak may continue. Oh. As ByuN just allowed Classic a series of mistakes. Now, 14 Zealots are in production. Unlike StarCraft 2, it's a lot easier to tell with the supply because warp-ins are about 5 seconds, so the supply can swing so wildly in Terran versus Protoss. But here, you build units one at a time like any Terran man. Meanwhile, the Arbiter Dragoon harass continues. These aren't the same ones. They were killed in the main. A similar vibe, though. Classic has the income. So if he pretty much has another base fully online, spamming charge lots. Speed lots. Sorry. And a distinct difference, really. Though I believe they are faster here. Storm. Another Arbiter just kind of wanders out. Classic. Losing track of a lot of the rally points. But he's rebuilt the speed lots to the south. And Hellbat's burninating through another mineral line. The charge lots, speed lot, zealots get on top of the base and are stabbing their way through. The Cyclones are no match, especially not cost effectively. And, well, Classic's economy seems to have powered through. He cuts down a Thor. And with 18 gateways scattered throughout the map, ByuN is in full retreat. The main base is finally mining out. He's running out of options. And a massive recall. As well as the potential cloaking field. The Ravens trying to help, but the Storm's cutting off the reinforcements. Auto turret's pretty useful here, but the recalls are this time fondly enough. The Reaver doesn't have a Scarab, it finds one, helps cut through, but ByuN has almost nothing at the front. The gateway units continue to trickle in. And scans are required to deal with the cloaking field. The Arbiter really let itself go when it became a mothership in StarCraft 2, didn't it? But we've all been there. 4 tough years. The engineering bay will burn as a apt metaphor for ByuN's position in this game. He's not dead. But another wave of speed lots, construction. And Classic, despite his best efforts, may finally break the streak. I thought it would be a little bit more decisive, but a few false alarms, a few solid defenses from ByuN almost turned it around, but Classic prepared for this position. He may have lost his entire army, but he had more than the economy to rebuild it. Several times over. I thought he might have lost way more resources, but by this point, it's about evened up. As ByuN lost the army, he lost the position, and now he's lost the game. Classic turns the tide and goes up 3-1. We even have the StarCraft 1 logos on the victory screen. A small but oh so large thing. And now, somewhat ironically, we move into Mothership. Oh, it may be loser pick, I believe. And ByuN has chosen to stay with the StarCraft 2 Terran. Classic with the StarCraft 1 Protoss. That might be. We just kept going back and forth and handing it off, but Classic once again with the StarCraft 1 probes. And ByuN. I love the crackly warpins. I don't know if it was a symptom of the times, like a technical requirement, or I think it was both a design choice and technical requirement of the sounds in Brood War being so distinct. But they're not realistic. Realistic, right? With my plant-based alien race with laser swords who's 800 years old. What should they sound like? I don't know. But so distinct. Like, unfortunately, well, there's almost no other game than Brood War. That you can close your eyes, I think, and know what units are participating in the battle with great confidence. StarCraft 2 is pretty good, but I think they leaned a little bit too much into the more pseudo-realistic feel. Like, everything sounds kind of how you would think it would sound, as opposed to how it sounds in the game. Which, on paper, again, sounds good, but we don't hear on paper. Maybe unless you're blind. And it's Braille. Shout out to my blind viewers. I kind of have to. Classic. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is I would pay so much money in current day to just get even the StarCraft. Like, they've already done the work for you. I just add the StarCraft 1 sounds for many of the units in StarCraft 2. Like, especially any units that have direct carryover. There are some mods that do it, but obviously here we just limit it to the StarCraft 1. But the Marine, the Siege Tank, and then you can make a judgment call on like the Stalker being a Dragoon. But honestly, that would get me to play twice as much ladder. Still play a decent bit. All right, go check out Winter Gaming TV if you're ever wondering, like, do you ever stream? So I would stream on this channel, but the algorithm. All right, Al Gore and his rhythm have been a finicky thing throughout the years, and I found it more successful to, you know, split things up, give everybody their pick of the buffet table instead of trying to put it all there at once. But same place. Well, also Twitch, but YouTube is better for streaming because of the quality and the fact that you can watch it later without it being horrible. But otherwise, I digress. Goon range on the way. Let's see if ByuN mixes it up. He tried mech, but I do think the greatest strength of the StarCraft 2 Terran against StarCraft 1 Protoss is Bio. I know, Reaver's amazing, but as we already saw, they still suffer from not being able to deal with the mobility of the Marines, the Marauders, the Medevacs, the M&M. So we'll see what there's already a second bear. So this time around, ByuN falling back on the Bio Ball instead of a more Bio-curious opener. Cybercore finishes spinning around the Singularity Charge. The Dragoon range upgrade. Robo Bay is on the way. It's gonna be Reavers, more than likely yet again. Observatory as well. And walking I don't need to translate that one. Classic. Classic, like, sun was in my eyes. That was so bad. And Classic loses 4 Dragoons. Now, there's more on the way. He may have baited ByuN into potentially losing the rest of his army for, like, what seems like every game of this series he's done something like this. But sieges up the tank, which puts him in range. The Dragoons try to dance around that shuttle. I think Classic's got a lot better at it, but the Warp Prism in StarCraft 2 has a long pickup range. They can yank units, like, metaphysically into it from several range away. I think it's like 5. Whereas the shuttle is 1 or 2, like a normal dropship. So you'll see Protoss players who don't play SC Evo as often, or haven't played in a while, trying to pick up the Stalkers and clearly flailing around. You can see the shuttle not quite moving fast enough, and then the struggle there. The muscle memory is slightly off, which is sometimes worse than relearning things entirely, like, or learning for the first time. But once you adapt to it. There's the Reaver. In production. Shuttle speed as well. A missile turret ready to box things out. Shuttle's so slow without speed. And I know that sounded dumb, but... Reaver! He fires a shot! 3 kills. Could have been better, could have been worse. Not great. Not terrible. That, oh, that Marine playing with plasma fire. I don't think they can fire up to the high ground. I don't think that's how it works. But I'm no reaverologist. And the little air blockers making things more than difficult here. The rest of the army, just a bunch of Rangoons. And most of the bios in the main. He's like, what if I just attack the third with a bunch of Dragoons? And so far, it seems to be a good idea. Like, oh, the Reaver in position to cut off some of the reinforcements. He's not going to kill the third base, but Classic. Oh, but part of the reason this was successful is a double drop. Oh, did he just lose the game? He has to go forward because he can't recall back. Yeah, there's no production. The pylons. That's okay. Well, yeah, he lost the game. Unfortunately, with no recall, with no warping, if you don't have any units at home, you don't have any units at home. And that's that. ByuN strikes back with a decisive victory as Classic. Bit of a misstep. But, well, here we are. ByuN brings things back in our most one-sided game of the series. Nearly a Mobius strip on that one, but... And it's time to flip the script again, of course. This time around, it will be Classic back to the StarCraft 2 Protoss and ByuN with the StarCraft 1 Terran. Celestial Enclave. A StarCraft 2 map... Oh, okay. So the minerals are changed no matter what. Interesting. That, well, the difference here, the mineral patches seem to have that 1500 to start, but the StarCraft Evo maps mostly seem to have 9 mineral patches in the main base, whereas 8 for StarCraft 2. I'm not sure in Brood War how many there were on the usual maps, but Classic. There's a severe lack of barracks in the base here. Looks like ByuN wants to go command center first. And there's no gas. This is StarCraft 1 Terran, remember? So, no real threat of a Reaper early, especially with no gas, obviously, but then he spots the command center, so... An Enki Bay block. I wouldn't be surprised if he finishes it, because then he could just fly away and still have the Enki Bay. So, we'll see. Well, assuming that he gets anywhere close. Classic. This is awkward. He's just going to take the third, I guess. Yeah, the technology. Both Queens and Engineering Bays lost the ability to fly after the war. After a terrible accident where they collided and are now permanently traumatized and will no longer fly again. But before that, Classic again with some top tier commentary. Wait, did the probe get a kill? No. I think he's just talking about the engineering bay. Just what are you gonna do about it? Hey. Literally no anti-air, so he knows where the pylons are, so if he just keeps an eye on that. It's not even a stalker building, it's an adept. There's 2 factories on the way. I mean... Alright. Stargate in production. He builds it at the 3rd in order to keep the engineering bay from actively scouting it. And now a barracks is flying out. They're like overlords, but better in almost every way. They even fly fast. I don't know if they fly faster than their StarCraft 2 counterparts or if they're just slimmer. Everybody bulked up after the Brood War. They got the World of Warcraft shoulder pads treatment. Yep, that's an Enki Bay. Maybe it'll crash into the Enki Bay on the way out of the Stargate. This isn't beyond all reason, all right? You can't do that. Yeah, awkward. Even more oracles in production. And, well, there's obviously an engineering bay. So we can build missile turrets. The guy in the missile turret just spinning. Yep. Doesn't get dizzy. All right, they got drugs for that, I assume. I'm getting dizzy just watching it, though. Classic, that's not a hard wall, right? Right? Oh, no. Classic! Classic! I'm 80% sure he's hardwalled his stalkers out of the base, but he has not hardwalled them. Wow. He was just demotivated. Recalls back an Oracle, which will immediately demonstrate the differences here. The Vultures get 6 probes. Certainly not a bad haul. Classic actually behind on workers. Meanwhile, all these random buildings floating around. Definitely distracting. 9 probes dead. 11. 12. So good at reading off the counter. Classic in a pretty horrible position now economically, which we've seen have spiraling effects throughout the series. Obviously, as you might expect, but even more so. 3 Goliaths. They do not have a range. So, going to be a little bit harder to deal with those oracles. Is this enough units? He's got 4 stalkers and 2 oracles against 3 Goliaths and 3 vultures. I think he needs to pull a few SCVs. He cancels the 3rd, by the way, which is kind of a huge deal. The oracle's waiting for their moment to jump in. And if he softens up the Goliaths at all, then the oracles might be able to turn the tides. A mixed bag here. Neither player feeling confident in the fight. Just continuing, lays down some spider mines. A very important part. Blink is not done. He might not realize. Did he spot the mines? Revelation. Which cuts into the energy on the oracles, though. They barely have enough to light up for a couple seconds. So, the stalker count dwindling, but Goliath's not known for their all-out DPS here. The trades continue. The supply lines will grow. Classic, now with 3 bases, he's caught up in the worker count. But so far, relatively even. The factories, up to 5. There's only 3 gates for Classic, which is not enough. He needs way more production. I think he knows that. Setting up for it now. 2 Nexi in production simultaneously. But it's 8 Stalkers against 4 Goliaths, 7 Vultures. There's a siege tank now, though no siege mode. Blinks across the mineral gap, which will certainly complicate things, but he's gonna set up the defenses on either side. He might be able to corner the Stalkers, though they should have recall available. Siege tank. Now some SCVs. It's got a bit of an awkward spot. 3 SCVs dead, but he's losing a lot of vultures. Tank siege is up. Recall out. Big hit from the siege tank, but the majority of the Stalkers escape relatively unscathed. So, but the oracles swing into the 3rd, and ByuN brought everything back. Slightly out of position, and now Classic with 69 probes up against ByuN with 52 SCVs, giving Classic a very nice economic lead. ByuN getting baited out of position. Classic switches to the oracles and keeps the momentum up. But still, ByuN not in a terrible position. He's got +1 against +1. He's got the Goliaths. They just knock one out of the sky. Now with their range upgrade. The Stalkers will dance back for now. The Vultures 5 at a time. Buffering for the siege tanks, laying down the mines. And an existential threat to probes if he's able to get any of them out. Surprise, well, currently revelated. This depot line may be getting a bit unwieldy. The Vultures are sent out in maybe to cut off reinforcements or to just cut down. The Vultures get caught in a terrible spot. And ByuN choosing a concerning pathing. The Blink Stalkers might be able to chase, but the Vultures are incredibly fast. Not that that necessarily matters. The Stalkers, is Blink ready? No, he used it to try to chase on the other side, but loses a whole bunch of the Vultures for free. By that I mean 4. It felt like worse. Okay, I don't know. Immortals in production. And now, harkening back to game number 1. With the siege tanks and Vultures building up, a ByuN bottled up on 2 bases, whereas Classic, he's now got 5 with 87 probes. A scan for the army outside. No sensor tower available. Scanning for observers. We'll see an Oracle get close. I mean, Classic can pretty easily narrow down where the Terran army is. And the tanks. That's a lot of siege tanks. They have 1-1 done. Vulture's not a good counter to destructible rocks, necessarily. The tanks are not helping out. I guess he doesn't want to get caught with them attacking the wrong thing for even a split second. So eventually the work will be done. The expedition, the archaeological expedition completed. Meanwhile, though, charge lots in the main. Yes, charge lots, not speed lots this time. The Vultures come back to deal with it. 6 Vultures at a time. He's gonna knock out the Observer, goes for the Oracle, gets both. Nice snipes for ByuN. And nearly maxed out. 111 army supply right now for ByuN. To 107 for Classic, who has a max of 112. He's got the fleet beacon on the way. And the mothership could be next on the agenda. But moving out, and the army, the Immortals, the tanks are not sieged. The storm's on the front line, the siege tanks return fire. The tanks continue to leapfrog. And even a single oh, the Immortals went the wrong way! And he loses a couple right off the bat. Meanwhile, the Templar, though, ByuN with a slow push forward. He has no more upgrades in production. I don't think he ever got a science facility, so he wasn't able to get any further upgrades. The Vultures. Another massive volley. The Spider Mines covering the sides. And continues forward the tanks sieging. And I'm reasonably sure, on this map especially, I don't think there's any sort of high ground advantage besides vision, which the scans can deal with. The Spider Mines completely cut off the charge lots. And a great spread, I can't believe it. Oh! The siege tanks annihilating everything nearby. Classics at 200 supply, but continually pushed back. The turret push as well. Looks like he's going to use the charge lots to try to drag out the Spider Mines, but gets into the mineral line. Meanwhile, at the front, the tanks doing terrible, terrible damage. The Observer almost dies to its own storms. More Observers on the way back. But the siege tank line it's far too deep. He's continuing to move forward. Those siege tanks getting closer and closer, going for the counterattack. He has enough units to potentially deal with the Spider Mines. 14 SCVs dead. Classic pushed all the way back, but ByuN has almost nothing at home to defend. And if he's not careful, there might not be any home to go back to. Classic completely shuttered in his base. But ByuN getting cored out. The Vultures are coming back in the mothership. There is no anti-air at all. The Goliaths are running back home. ByuN chose this moment to come back to defend. And the vultures might be enough to deal with the charge lots, but they're not enough to deal with the stalkers he keeps warping in. He hasn't dealt with the warp prism. And the main weakness of this arm, he just gives it up. Did he spot the mothership? Is that what happened? Because the mothership itself, he didn't even need to. The mothership was never revealed. He just lost so much. What a disaster. What a anticlimactic end. As Classic, well, he's strong at the front, and he had nothing at the back. A simple yet decisive victory. ByuN unable to win the game before losing his entire base. Not respecting the warp prism, the source of all the strife. And that means Classic is now on match point. And ByuN will be fighting for his life. Classic back to the StarCraft 1 probes. ByuN with his native StarCraft 2. I assume, because they're Korean, they at least have genetic memory of Brood War, but it's almost certain both of them played Brood War at some point. But obviously, both of them, some of the highest level professional StarCraft 2 players for over a decade. So, and it does seem like the StarCraft 2 mobility and is enough. Even if the StarCraft 1 units on an open field fight are devastating. With warp prisms, with medevacs, it's almost impossible to force that open field fight without exposing your base. So the simple strategy of hit them where they're weak, not where they're strong. While less than dramatic for entertainment value, very effective for game-winning value. And ByuN, oh my, the SCV, we were supposed to have fixed this. What is this? What is this? The SCV stuck inside. I'm surprised Classic didn't say anything. He's gonna kill the SCV, but well deserved. So the bug of the SCV sometimes being inside, untouchable, it's not supposed to happen, like a drone, but even more spiteful. The probes, definitely not as dramatic. StarCraft, who cares? Let me continue. I'm not playing, I'm watching. I like to watch. Don't judge me. Back in my day, we lost our ladder games if your mom picked up the phone. Nowadays, it's usually Google Meets. I don't know. StarCraft 1 minerals look crazy on this map. Ruby Rock has always had the crazy contrast. Definitely sticks out. Somewhat puns intended. And 2 orbital command. Was this a command center first? No, not quite. Maybe? Am I dumb? All different questions, all with yes or no answers, and none of which you should answer at all. Thank you. All right. The Dragoon just kind of walks up, and who's going to stop it? Who's going to stop it? Who's gonna... Not a rhetorical question. Hey, Cyclone is on the way. It's one Marine. He just walks past the Marine. Hello? Anyone? The boys are pulled. Citizen's arrest attempted. But the Dragoon, surprisingly slippery. They butter it up beforehand. Oh, but he missed! And now he's too thick to escape. Well, that's a disaster. He got 3 SCVs, a ton of mining time lost. He had a few idle ones at the natural. ByuN just dropping the ball and Classic picking it up and running it downfield for a field goal. So, is anyone else sports? Like and subscribe for sports. Digital sports. A Riva is on the way, and ByuN, well, he'll have Cyclones with Magfield Accelerator. Uniquely suited, because there's no blink, and the shuttles, even with speed, are a prime target. I don't know if the Scarabs will one-shot the Cyclones, but I think the game kind of depends on it. ByuN needs to get rid of this immediately. He's already in a very uncomfortable position. He's getting a medevac, which might be for dodging the Reaver shots, because otherwise, a curious choice. Another factory on the way. He's going to go for mech. There are spotter depots on the edges. Classic. ByuN, the depot's not quite as much vision range, but I think he caught a glimpse. I think wrong. There's a Reaver and a Goon in there. And just drops it out. Slams the shot home. That's just 2 to start. But everybody backs off. There's only 1 Cyclone. He's rebuilding the Scarabs. Just breaks the lock. Meanwhile, where's the medevac? Oh, it comes back home to defend. But the damage from downtown, the Reaver, huge damage. The Dragoons breaking the locks. Oh, double kill! And he wins the game! The Reaver with the game-winning shot. Can I see that again? Softens it up, knocks it out. The Reaver micro-juggling to dodge the Cyclone lock-ons, and then eventually whipping it around for the double kill combo. A Reaver drop, still a menace. 28 years later. Whips out a shot. The Dragoon softens up the other shot. They get too close, and that's 2 Gs of damage. Classic 5 games. ByuN 2. Classic using both the StarCraft 2 and StarCraft 1 Protoss to great effect. And ByuN unable to find a reliable answer. So, still a fun series, and clearly the players enjoying it as well. But thank you to Enki for another great match. Congratulations to Classic on a comfortable victory. But I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. Thank you for watching. If you got the means of motivation, you also check out Patreon, YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. Thank you to our meal tier patrons. ByuN could use more. Big Jiggy Devendor, Kate, Mario Suit, and also to everyone, as this is one of the matches that through Patreon, my Patreon, I help sponsor, as I like to see the SE Evo matches and keep up that going. So helped sponsor it, and on a monthly basis with Enki. You should check it out if you speak Spanish at least. But thank you for watching. And either way, if you haven't yet checked out this video, it'd be awesome if you could do so. Jimmy picked it out just for you. And I'll see you next time, hopefully. Good luck, have fun, stay chill.